I'll be watching the video in the morning. And we have a lot of cool stuff coming up with Destinations Decades, so I want to give them plenty of time. First of all, so I'm going to start with good things. So be thinking if you, within the last week or so, I would like to share that last week I had the opportunity, I got a scholarship to attend a conference in Phoenix. It was a 3-day conference. And this is folks from national, Canada, everywhere. And throughout the week, what I was left with was truly the amazing things that this district does and this school does. To the point that one of them was on instruction and some principals were talking about how will you ever get people to put an objective on the board? And why would you do that? So think about how far we are from that. Like, why would you put an objective? You guys, it was just so far beyond that. So it truly was, just those days were filled with celebrations of just the amazing things that our district does and this school does. So that was, and I was thankful to get a chance to be there. So, and I know some of you stepped up being short-handed downstairs, and thanks to Teresa and Shelley and JP. So, all right, good things. Kevin.
This weekend I went to see Jeff and a bunch of other people at the show at Grace Arts, Young Yankees, and it was a blast. It was super fun. It was fun to go and like support each other outside of school because he's really talented, and like it's fun to see him in a capacity as a teacher. And I got to hold his 11-month-old baby the whole time, and she was better than all the adults that were sitting around her. And then she fell asleep on me, and there's like nothing better than that feeling ever in the whole world. So it was just a good weekend. So
are there other teachers from the district in that performance?
We have a couple of students in it. Jordan is in it. Eric's in the 8th grade. There may be other teachers from the district, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But Jeff was really good. So.
Very cool. Very cool. 2 claps for both of you. I feel like I need to follow up with you, Jeff. So you've done other performances before?
Yeah, I performed for a long time. I was a instrumental vocal performance major, so English is kind of, just another thing. I love it, but like.
Now, did your community that you came from, because Grace Arts obviously does a pretty big thing. Yeah. Did your home community do something as big as well?
Yeah, there was lots of different little competing theaters around.
Best thing about Grace Arts?
The group. You get to, just like any group, you get to, just grow as a group and have a common goal. So it's kind of cool.
From the start, you have to try out. You have to audition.
Yeah, you have to audition, and then you either get cast or you don't, and then you go for rehearsals. Usually it's a couple nights a week for about 2.5 hours, and then on Saturdays you meet for about 4 hours, sometimes more, and then you get into last week, and it was 6 to probably about 11 for the entire week. So.
From auditions to performance, how long is that?
It depends on because you audition for the season, and then they cast you in the season. But each set, it's about a month, 3 weeks to 4 weeks. And so like now, the next show that they're in, they've already been practicing for like a week or so, rehearsing for a week. So we'll be done in 2 weeks, and the following week, the next show will be on.
And you're in all of them?
Not this time. I was last fall. Yeah.
And you get up and you come to school, and good for you. Good for you. Well, I'm glad you're part of our community. Claps for Jeff. All right. Anybody else? We got a 2-for-1 there. Alyssa, you have something coming up this weekend, right?
Oh, this weekend? Okay, yeah. My sister and her boyfriend are going to be in town, which will be really fun because I feel like this is the time of the year that I kind of start to get a little more homesick. So it'll be nice to have a taste of home visiting in Hamilton. From Minnesota, so they're excited to get out of the freezing cold. No, and there's still like 3 feet under snow right now. Like it's still up to mailboxes in Minnesota.
And maybe, has it ever melted this winter?
No, it's new. It has been freezing all winter.
And record cold?
Yeah, they've missed, my mom works at a school back home, and she's missed 10 days of school. Because, not even for the snow, just because it's been so cold this winter.
Do you have to make them up?
Yeah, they do that to make them up. So
That's one of the things that the kind of the conversation, especially with the people from Canada, was there was this conversation around making up snow days, because how much do you really get done on those days?
right.
It's just if the state makes you do.
Yeah, I think like out of the 10 days they have missed, they have to make up 5 days. So yeah.
In June or?
Yeah,
Can you
in June.
imagine?
Yeah, the school year goes to June down there,
Oh,
so
my
they
Lord.
have an extra weekend.
So that's how we reframe our last week of school. All right, thank you for sharing. I had 2 claps for. All right, a couple things, and then I'm going to try to make this quick. You all have sticky notes on your table. So, and I'm doing a little bit of a flipped classroom. I don't know if you got a chance to read the attachment in that email. So hopefully you've been thinking about this. After our last meeting, and I've really been reflecting and checking in on myself, and really for me, what it came back to was number one, and I was honest with you that I need to do a better job of revisiting this all the time with us. But for me, the 2 things that I have not been doing a good job on are, and I've made myself a goal that I shared with you, staying positive and do praise. And so my goal is, and I shared this with you, that every Friday afternoon, that's how I'm in the week, and I want to share something with you, celebration. So I'd like you to just think about our contract and choose one area, and this is going to come to me. I want your name on it. And just one area from our contract that you are committing to, I'm going to work on this for 4th quarter. And we'll just take about just a couple minutes on that. And when you're finished, just fold it up and I'll collect them when we're leaving today. So one commitment from you that you will work on 4th quarter.
And this is towards the rest of the staff.
Yeah, because this is our contract with one another.
Yes. And then we sign our name.
Yep, name on it, please. And there's no, this is just, I want to support you if I can in what you're working on. Do you need me to go down? You want me to quickly read them? No, you're good.
I can see it back there.
I'll tell you what I did when I made my goal was I really thought about what was making me unhappy. And then I went, well, what do I need to do better? And then I came back here.
Do we need to put why? Or
Nope.
just, no? All right.
Actually, you're going to put something on the back too. Okay, on the back, I'm going to have you, again, if you read the email, then I shared some of you are already doing affirmations, and if you're doing that, I just want you to, get your names on it. So how are you going to implement, really, in 4th quarter, how are you going to implement affirmations? And I don't even need details, just, we went with, Mondays and Wednesdays, or just something that short. So that when we come in classrooms, we'll know, I want to see some affirmations, and I'm going to go to that team because it's Mondays. I could have one person from each table. When everyone's done, collect your tables. Make sure you get everyone sitting up.
Hey man, I take the food for the kids.
Normally I'm
And I just overheard, if you truly are, I don't have any idea on affirmations, please be honest and just say, I don't know. Just be honest on that. Because that will just tell me that we can maybe give some support there. Thanks, Scott. Yep. All right, back up here. Okay, a couple updates, and then I'm going to turn it over to Heather and Chessa. Some of you have heard about the blended learning that we're going to be doing at Thunderbolt, and it's been on my agenda, and then either we don't end up meeting or raise your hand if you even know what I'm talking about. 2 of you do. Some of you. Okay, many of you do. So we had a Gail Malay's goal was we will implement blended learning in our district because that's a district. I mean, that's where the nation is going. Not necessarily full on, but so I was on the district committee, and brainstorm, and ultimately the decision from the committee was that it would start at middle school because high school has to deal with credits and figure all that out. So that decision was, okay, Mary Jo, you're going to start it at middle school next year, 7th grade. So the number one thing that we knew as a committee was you've got to get teachers who it really will be the minimal learning curve for doing some blended learning activities. So literally at that time, Adam and Derek were doing flipped lessons and big common unit together, cross-curricular unit with tech, and so I knew that they were the 2 that I wanted to ask to be a part of this because again, it couldn't be somebody that would stress over the learning curve. So Adam and Derek will be starting this program next year, and what it's going to look like. There's a lot of question marks still, and that's one of the first things I said to them was you got to be able to come into this and know it's going to be a messy year, and we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to bump against each other, and there will be people parading in and out of your classrooms all the time from the district, and if you're okay with that, then let's go. So it'll be 7th graders. We're not taking off the cream of the crop. It's some of those funky students that you think of that maybe they might even be, I don't know that they would be a tier 3 kiddo, but they might be in some areas. But so we came up with criteria, Teresa and I and Shelly and Jamie and even as the committee of these are the kinds of kiddos that we're asking them for recommendations. So so I promise you it's not taking all those high kids out of your 7th grade classrooms. That's not the way it's going to be. But Chromebooks have been donated, some of them, and CTE funds to purchase for half of them. And none of this is about me. This is district saying, here you go, here's your Chromebook. So this is not a Thunderbolt thing except for that we're starting in 7th grade. So the procedure, right now we're getting the recommendations from the elementary. We sent them the criteria, give us names. The next step will be inviting those students, selling it to parents. We'll have meetings, and there's a whole process that we're putting into place. And anyway, so that's kind of the gist of it. That's about all we know. The schedule for right now, what it looks like is all these students will stay in their face-to-face math class. They will not be doing math online because that doesn't make good sense. Not for year one. So period 1, they'll be out in math. Period 2 is science online for all of those students, 67, we're so many kids. Trisha is going to be the teacher. The kids are online, but then Trisha will be, we're going to do a lab or really planning and pulling and grading and all of that stuff. So during second period, and then the teachers will be supporting Trisha, really. They'll do an exploratory out, and then the real blended part comes when Derek and Adam do what they've been doing this year and doing a lot of cross-curricular and project-based, but those students will have an online class that they're doing in addition to what they're doing. So I will promise you this, that if there's anybody right now thinking free ride for right now it's Derek and Adam, and whoever's the teachers will be next year, it'll be moving up and we'll be adding 2 more teachers. So if it's something that you're interested in, it's coming. But if anybody's thinking, wow, piece of cake, I promise you not the case, because kind of ask them to clear their calendars for next year, because it's going to be planning and it's going to be troubleshooting and figuring out Blackboard, and there's a big learning curve. So there was no intent of keeping that a secret. I just hadn't had the opportunity to talk about it. So questions?
Does it, is it going to take place, I mean, I'm just kind of wondering where Expert 21 falls in.
No, that doesn't affect that at all.
It doesn't affect that?
No, not at all. Students who need intervention, I will say that if you need intervention, Expert 21 trans math won't matter because they're out for math anyway. But those students we would look at differently,
Okay.
a little bit differently. So, what other questions might be swirling in your head?
I'm a little confused on the schedule. If these 2 teach 8th grade, but they're teaching a 7th grade students this, problems, they're going to go down. Oh, okay.
Yep, they are.
Are the online classes done from school or from home?
From here. So the plan right now, I don't know the rooms yet, but these guys, the teachers, and here's the other thing I want you to know is when we designed what we think is going to work, and we want to adjust it, but it wasn't a Derek Adams show. It was blended learning, because if either one of these gentlemen go, decide, or after next year decide I don't want to do it anymore, we really wanted to design what's best for kids. So they are thinking it'll be in the B wing, just 2 classrooms. The Chromebooks are all, cloud-based. So they go wherever we go, and wherever those students are. So the Chromebooks will be with them. But and then the kids are doing their coursework here. But imagine you've got a student that's in the hospital. Off they go on their online class, So there's lots of benefits. I will say that's the number one thing you got to have is a student that's self-motivated. So, what other questions? Yes.
Are they still going to need to have computers as a thing, or is the computers going to be entirely integrated in that, so that takes kids out of the computer exploratory rotation?
Most of them, it depends. Not yes or no.
Okay.
On either one of those, it could be either one.
Hayden McDonald, please come to the front office.
What else? Yes.
What about the Chromebooks? Is there being supplied to kids? Are the kids carrying them with them, or are they going to stay locked up in the room?
No, they're here. They'll be here. But if there's stuff to do at home, they'll take them home. I saw the best slide. It was somewhere on Twitter or something that, not that this is what you're saying, Tiffany, but there was I bet some of you have seen it. It's a giant stack of textbooks. Mm-hmm. And it said, we'll let students take $500 worth of textbooks home with them, but we don't want to send a $200 Kindle home with them. We're just shifting our mindset, and that's not what you're saying, but the plan is that they'll stay here. They ordered a cart and everything, so they'll stay in-house unless there's a reason that they go home. Yeah, so what else? So what I want you to do is, as you're thinking of things, and if there's something that you're thinking that you're suspicious of, something, whatever it might be, please come to me, because I promise you this was my number one motivation in asking Derek and Adam was they're already doing it. So it wouldn't be like asking somebody that's not doing it, and that just causes more stress. In the content area, you have to be highly qualified, so that made good sense to combine those. And then Trish was gracious enough, and we worked with Denise Miner at the high school to say, yeah, I'll be on board with that. So, okay. All right, so please, any questions? You guys want to add anything?
The planning for it's going to be a bear. Just so you know, that we're not just going to sit there and twiddle our thumbs.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of planning.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy summer.
Yeah.
I almost made you sign off on you're not leaving town. So it's exciting, but I do want you to think, if you're sitting there right now thinking, gosh, I wish I would have had the opportunity, the plan is that the following year it moves up to 8th grade, and then after that, up to the high school. So it gives the high school another year to plan for credits, and because really a student should be able to, if we've got a student flying through 8th grade English, they should be able to finish 8th grade English and start 9th grade English. So they have got to be prepared at the high school for that, and they know that. So, but it's not going away. So really, if you're, most of you know, blended learning, really, it's not a mystery. It's just a combination of face-to-face and some online. There was a lot of talk last week at that conference around technology and all of that stuff, and the number one word that I heard weaved in and out of the whole 3 days was just relationship. You've got to have a teacher in front of you. So even if those students are working online, they've got to have a teacher. So anyway, so any questions at all, come to me and I'll clarify. If we know, there's some stuff we don't know, and we're going to figure it out as we go. So I'm excited for our students for sure. Okay, Thursday is the mandatory bond meeting. They're going to be, more deeper information about the bond. They will have the back channel going. Please, you guys know Michelle Burke. She went through everything with fine-tooth comb, and so most of what you're going to hear is in response to questions that people had. But it really is deeper of, the goal is that anybody here could go out and answer questions about what does this mean. So it'll be good. I've seen the PowerPoint. Any questions on the bond? It's not happened yet, but pending board approval. So, all right, that's it for me. So before I turn it over to Heather and Chessa, if you are on this Destinations Decades Committee, would you raise your hand? These guys are amazing. And the details that are coming out, Chessa, from your emails and Heather's, are I'm envious, because you guys are thinking of every little detail. And as the principal, it's exciting to just sit back and just watch you guys create this amazing thing. So thank you both, and thank you to the whole committee. So, and then when you all are done, Kim Wilson, where'd you go? Kim has a lunch when you're all done. Okay, turn it over to you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Are you awake?
Yes.
I'm not. I'm sorry, I had a long day today. Welcome back to Destination Decades. We are here today because we want to give you actual bits of information that we did not have the last time that we had a meeting. Last time we were like, here's what it kind of sounds like. Now we can tell you what it looks like. So.
Okay, so what we are going to talk about today, all the list of things that are here, and you've got all of these documents in the folder on your table. Everyone's got a different color folder. There's red, orange, yellow, 2 yellows, green, blue, and purple.
There are 6 copies in each folder. If you just want to share them with someone sitting near you, they're all the same, I promise.
So we will be taking a look at the calendar. There's some key dates that we want to look at. The schedule for that special mentoring period. You've already had a chance to look at the project. That's the cute little booklet. It's got every single project in there. We're going to talk about what's going to happen during that 0-hour period. That's that mentor time. A snapshot of the rubrics, and then also the interviews that you'll be conducting with your mentee students. So unofficially, we have a few other things that if any questions come up, we're going to come back to this at the end. These are some things that are still kind of in the works. We have some idea, and we've got kind of an outline of what it's going to be. It's not really set in stone, but we'll also be talking about our plan for the day of the event, and that's pretty well worked out. some information just in general about the fair, about grading and things like that, and how many kids you can expect to be in your mentor group. So if you can first take out the April and May calendar from your folder or in your packet, it's front to back. And I just want to point out a few of the key dates. First of all, you'll see students in science class on March 31st. That's the very first, that first week in April. That's when students will first be kind of introduced to their project or to the project idea, and they're going to start thinking about their groups. They'll need to have their parent permission slip signed by that Wednesday, and the students will get to choose their group pending their team, their teacher team, pending their approval. So we do still have some veto power with the groups that the students choose. And that's going to give us a solid week to get those groups kind of set in stone and for everyone to be able to look through. And if you see on April 10th, you're going to be meeting with the people who are at your table right now. This is your 0-hour team. It's your regular team plus either an exploratory or an intervention teacher or a special ed teacher. So on April 10th, you're going to be meeting with this group of people, going through each of the student groups and just kind of verifying, checking for good decisions. Any questions on that part? During Ames Week, on the Friday during Ames Week, that's when the students will finally have their projects. And the first mentor hour then will start on April 22nd. We decided to go on Tuesdays rather than Mondays, which is what we first presented to you, because who wants to show up Monday morning first hour and not know what class they're going to? So this gave us an extra day to kind of prep them, get them sending them off in the right direction, and then we also moved it to second period. So, do you take a look at the daily schedule? Here's the bell schedule. Notice that the 0 hour is between first and second period. Again, that was to get the kiddos heading off in the right direction. We didn't really like the idea of sending them somewhere first period when it wasn't their typical class. Plus attendance would be an issue. So on those 8 days when we meet in a 0 hour class, your first period attendance has got to be spot on. Absolutely 100%. Go talk to each student individually or whatever. Make sure your attendance is spot on because that's the only attendance that's going to be taken before the automatic call goes out to parents. So then during that 0 hour, you will be taking attendance on paper. You'll have a roster and only turning it in to Kristen if there's someone absent. I think that was Kristen's.
Yeah, we talked to
preference.
Kristen a lot about this attendance thing too. We want to make sure that our kids are safe, and that's like her two biggest things. First of all, first period, it has to be perfect. I make mistakes with my attendance, especially when the kid comes in tardy or if you send them to the library right away. Just to make sure that you check it 3 times before you hit submit at the end of the period, because we won't get second period's power school attendance in until after the 9:40 phone call. So a parent might get a phone call if their kid's not in school and they're panicking because they know they put their kid on the bus that morning. Just make sure first period is really good that day. Not that you don't do that every day, but extra special.
So then if you look at just the length of the class periods, it's very similar to the class period length that we had last year, right around an hour, just a few minutes over an hour. And lunches got moved a little bit. D-wing lunch got moved back by about 10, 12 minutes.
So anybody have a question about the schedule or the calendar just right off the bat? We'll have lots of time for questions. Does it make sense, the schedule? You kind of can see when you're getting kids and where your classes and preps are going to be.
Can I just say, the lunches are late, but if we didn't do it that way, then the 7th graders are eating at 9:30 or something.
Yeah.
So it's either way, it's not, but it'll be fine.
And I think D lunch is 10 minutes later than normal. I think that's the
It's not
final
that big a
number.
deal.
So in the grand scheme of an 8th grader's life, 8 times eating 10 minutes late, I think they'll survive. I hope anyway. Okay, so I just want to talk about these teams. Just wave at the people that you're sitting with right now. Say hi. You should recognize 4 people if you're a regular ed mainstream teacher. And then there are 2 lovely ladies and gentlemen that are with you that you don't normally see. There are 6 teams of 6 people. Okay, there's a 7-1, 7-2, 7-3, 8-1, 8-2, 8-3. Your names are on those bags on the folders. And then we have 3 incredible people who are our 39th oddballs. So Mr. Licari and Miss Kimberly and Miss Edgerton, they're not like specifically assigned to a team right now. As a committee, we've been shooting around some ideas for how we can effectively use our time and space. And at this point, we're pretty sure that Mr. Licari and Miss Kimberly are going to be in the 2 computer labs because we know that not all of our students have devices that they can use, and we want to make sure that we have computers that are available for them to do research during these 0-hour periods. So we'll get you more information on this when it starts happening, but you'll have the opportunity to sign up a specific group of kids to go to, say, the B Hall lab or the downstairs lab and do research for one of your 0-hour periods, and they'll be the people that are in charge of those 2 rooms, just monitoring and helping kids with research. And then we also figured we need someone who's going to be able to float. If you have absence, your sub is going to have no idea what Destination Decades is. So we need someone who can run up there and say, yeah, I'll help them with starting whatever today's job is. So that's why we have 37, 38, and 39, and we're going to say thank you to them about 40 million more times. But do your teams kind of make sense to you, the people that are on your list? They're kind of relatively recognizable to you? Okay, so the purpose of putting you in a team is that we need you to get together at least 2 times. So pretend like you enjoy seeing one another during early release days. I know that I absolutely adore my team, so I will not have a problem with this. The first early release day Chessa already talked about, you are going to be going over a list of groups. Your children will say, I want to work with X, Y, and Z, and you will get to say, good choices, bad choices. And then you will get to make sure that everything is signed up appropriately. And then the second time, you will notice on the calendar, our early release day falls miraculously right after the first time you have your kids in your 0-hour mentor period. We thought, hey, great time to find out what works and what doesn't work. So the second early release, you're going to be meeting with that same group of people, and we're going to be asking you to talk about like what's going great and what you can already see as a problem. That way we can fix it when you still have 6 or 7 more mentor hours to go. Logical? All right. Please tell me if I talk too fast. I speak sign language. You can just wait on me.
Okay, so
Projects.
I have a tiny bit of a tiny assignment for you to do. I saw many of you were flipping through the booklets, the project booklets that look like this. If there were any that you took a look at that you think you would absolutely love to choose, any that jumped out at you, or any that you looked at and said, ooh, that's kind of a stinker, I don't know that I would ever choose it, I don't think any of my students would ever choose that project, I'd like you to jot down on one of the index cards in your bag. Oh, yours. Thank you.
Okay, so you can talk amongst your team about the projects. You can share the books. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 less books than there are people at your groups. Like Tessa said, pick one that's awesome, one that's not so awesome, write them down on the index card. And also, if you have any questions about the projects, if you have any questions about what we've been talking about, you can write that down on your index card too. Names not required. I think I'll give you like 4 minutes because I don't want to waste your time. So 4 minutes is good. Talk amongst yourselves. Point things out. There is a table of contents. If you like things like that.
If you were a student with this, what's one project that's like, oh, that's so cool, that's a project that was or that you think
Yeah, 3 is fine.
We're trying
Cool.
to see if there are any.
Can you pick out one that you would absolutely not want to do? That's what we're really trying to identify projects that are going to be giant black holes. Did you guys have an index card? You get to. And we really want to know the ones that you would never want to do. Because we're trying to figure out this is a black hole project. Yeah, sure. Why not? Your team. Kind of ours. Frank, do you want to do that? Different actual
Yeah, absolutely. You have to dress up like
Well, I want to know Okay, you have 2 minutes. Yeah, it's going to be a Google Doc.
Oh, wait a minute. That's when you like 2 weeks. Yeah, really.
No way.
Yeah, that one I loved that. It's good feedback. Keep it up there.
There's a sign up.
Okay, you have 1 more minute.
And they have to select one project choice from each of the 4 random. So were we getting up there? Which other one?
When you're finished, give all your index cards to one person at the table, please.
There's some that you'd be doing like Sergeant Pepper. Yeah, I know. Yeah, nobody's like me the drummer.
Thank you. I hope one person at your table has all the index cards. If you could just slip them into the paper bag, I'll take them from you at the end. So last meeting, one of the pieces of feedback we got from you verbally and also on the post-it notes you wrote was what's going to happen at each of the meetings. Are we going to have specific directives and objectives for our kids so we're not going in blind? And the answer is absolutely. So you will each get every single 0-hour period's objective, materials, everything that you need. Today I want to give you a little overview of it. I want you to know basically what's going to happen so that when you get the details later it all makes sense to you. Okay? So these are our 8 dates, and you notice that the last 2 dates are right before the day that this fair happens, the Tuesday and the Wednesday, right before the day of the fair. So on the first day, our objectives are going to include building social contracts with your students, going over procedures, especially procedures for BYOD, and doing research and group work. And hopefully you're going to be discussing each of the group's projects, because they will have just gotten their projects and they will be going back and being like, oh, I remember why I picked that. And you're going to be making sure they understand what that project is going to be asking of them. So you'll just be going through that. The next time, you're going to be going over, like, what does it mean to work in a group? How does it look? Does one person sit in the back and text while everybody else is working? No. So you're going to be talking about that, and they're going to be starting their research. We're also going to be doing check-ins each time you meet. So this time we're going to be talking about materials. Do they know already what kinds of materials they're going to have to get to build whatever they're going to have to build? If they have to make a film, do they have a camera? If they want to build the Titanic, do they have some wood? You know, that kind of thing. So they're going to be checking in their materials. Again, we're going to be continuing research. We're going to be starting lab time so that the kids can get in and do research if they don't have their own devices. And they're going to be checking in their index cards. If you notice in those projects that you're glancing at, each student is required to have somewhere between 1 and 3 index cards where they can write all their research on. And that is their only tool during interviews of you later.
They don't get to borrow their friends' index cards. They don't get to bring Wikipedia with them. They get index cards. So they're going to have to choose what they get to put on those cards. Moving on, they're going to keep researching. We're going to be checking in to make sure they have their trifold boards and that they're working on them. So that's going to be continuing, and then we're going to be making sure that they finish that big product. The thing that I'm most excited about this particular event is that every kid is not just responsible for learning, but for creating. So they are going to be allowed to create things that are super creative and super up their alley. They're going to pick, I'm good at this, so I'm going to make this. I'm good at math, I'm good at art, I'm good at science, so I'm going to make these things. We need to make sure they're making them, so we're going to make sure that gets checked in. The last 2 days that you meet with your mentors, you're going to be responsible for interviewing your students. Can you go to the last page in your packet? You will see 2 rubrics. That would be the packet that has the calendar on it. One of the rubrics says interview at the top. Can you stare at that for me? Not the project one, but the interview one. My student decided that some of them needed to face up and some of them needed to face down. I still love her. It's fine, don't worry. So this interview rubric is what you're going to be using to interview your students. It's not going to be blank. It's going to have 6 questions on it, and you get to pick 4 of them. So as a mentor, hopefully you will know kind of where your students have been this whole process. So if there's 6 questions, you get to question 1, and I can't answer it, and I've got my index cards, and I've been working really, really hard, but I have no idea who the producers of the Titanic are, you skip to question 2. It's okay. Because you only have to answer 4 out of the 6. Plus that last question. Take a look at that last question. It says, like, how did you contribute to your group? Tell me. Tell me what you did for this project while you were here. So you're going to be giving them a grade for this interview on the Tuesday and the Wednesday right before the fair. It's going to be your responsibility to do that. And then the fair happens. And the cool thing is that the fair happens, all the kids are going to put their projects in the places that their projects go during science class, and then the fair will be from 1 to 3. We'll have an early release schedule that day, and then the fair will happen in the afternoon. I can't tell you how excited I am about this. I don't know if it's going to work. I hope it does. But if it does work, it's going to be cool. Because I'm just picturing all those projects you've been looking at and all those things the kids can create, and I'm just picturing them like all over the gym and all over the library, and like what it's going to be like for them to walk around and see not only what they created but what their classmates created. Like, I think that's incredible. So you want to talk a little bit about what's going to happen that day?
So on the day of the fair, like Heather said, we'll be on an early release schedule. So from 1 to 3, which normally, if it was early release, we'd be going. All your mentee kids will be with you in your 0 period time, along with their parents if they are here. That 2-hour period is going to be split between 3 different time periods. You're going to have some more specific details on this, but it's already been planned out. We know exactly where you're going to be, where you're moving to, and what your kids are doing at each of those times. So that 2-hour period will be broken up into 40-minute segments. You will be spending 40 minutes in your classroom viewing any of the media projects, if they made a commercial, if they have a PowerPoint, if they filmed a video or whatever, and also a photo slideshow of all of our 0 period times. So as they were working on the projects and collaborating and things like that. So that's going to be a 40-minute time when you're in your classroom. Then you'll also be rotating to, you'll have one time where you're in the big gym. There will be about 144 projects in there. That'll be a 40-minute time period as well. The kids will all have a scavenger hunt where they need to go around and find certain things from all the other projects. And then your 3rd period, or your 3rd segment of time, will either be in the library or in the small gym.
Okay.
So we're trying to keep the kids engaged with that time when they're going and looking at all of the projects, and so that's where the scavenger hunt came in. That was kind of a last-minute addition.
Yeah. Okay, so last thing I want to talk to you about that's like kind of nuts and bolts is the grading itself. Once you do your interview grades, so you have your 20 or so grades from your students, there's going to be a Google form. Every single group is going to have a number. It's going to sound something like 7318, which would be Team 73, Group Number 18. And you will be able to type in 7318, Alexis Marquez, and then put in their grade and hit enter. That's as easy as it's going to be. That sends all of the grading information to us because we are going to be combining their interview grade, their project grade, and the grade you give them for accomplishing life during their 8 0-hour periods. The project grade we're also kind of excited about. I gave you the rubric so you can see what it looks like, but it's not going to be your responsibility because we have invited the K-12 Foundation and some elementary school teachers to come and spend the day here, see what our kids have created, and they're going to be responsible for grading some of our projects. So your interview grade, your 0-hour class grade, and then the project grade are going to get combined to make that student's final grade. And everything is going to happen in a Google Doc, so you don't have to worry about calculating anything. How are we doing so far? Good. Thanks for the thumbs up. I'm happy with thumbs up. All right, so these are our objectives. We wanted to show you the calendar. It's official. We wanted to show you the schedule. It's as official as we can get it. We wanted to show you the projects, also as official as we can get them. These are your teams. You know what your 0 hours are pretty much going to look like, and we promise you'll have all the materials and objectives that you need. And we basically know what the day of the fair is going to look like, but we don't want to necessarily send your brains home with all of that information today, so we figure we'd just save that for a little bit later. Is anybody feeling stressed? I'm glad. Spring break is next week. Questions beyond what you've written on your index cards?
As far as the estimated numbers, depending on your team, depending on which team you're on, and depending on how your students select their groups, whether they're in groups of 3 or groups of 4, and just how all the numbers pan out, we're looking at somewhere between 21 and 28 students.
Yeah, there will never be more than 28 kids in your classroom.
During your 0 hour time. So 28 would be the maximum, and that would be if every single student on your entire team got into groups of 3. So that's worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Best case scenario is
21-ish, yeah.
Well, I am impressed.
Yeah, I am too.
I know Mary Jo already said this, but I want to thank the committee so much because we literally had a meeting every single month, all of February and all of March, and they have been the most amazing people. So just thank you if you were part of that.
Jessa? Yeah. I just want to say that I think you two have been such positive, strong leaders in this program and project. And you've got everybody through it, not hurting each other or anything like that. But I think our hats are off to you two because you really have stepped up and done a great job.
Thank you.
That's all yours.
All right. The video that I'm going to show you was actually sent to me on Facebook, so some of you may have seen this before. But I have my best friend from high school. She just recently had her second child, and she had sent this to me the other day. She's an audiologist in somewhere in Michigan, I can't remember. I haven't seen her in forever, but we keep in contact on Facebook, and every Sunday, if she's able to, she'll send like a video, and I'll send her a quote of some sort. We go back and forth with that. And this came up one time, and I was like, okay, that kind of hits home because I've got these 8th grade girls in choir. Some days are great. Some days I'm ripping my hair out going, what happened from one day to the next? And so when I watched this video, I was like going, oh, Wilson, hello. Okay, so maybe you'll get the same out of it that I did.
Kid, every time I'm pulling out, he's right there. Man, and someone needs to talk to his parents if they're ever at home. What is up with the traffic today? It's always, every day, this intersection's always crowded. I hate pulling out of here. I need some of these dumb roads. Oh, there isn't. Okay, so I'm not even here. Right. Great lady. The princess of parking. Sure. Take the spot. Way to be considerate. Oh. Kidding me? Unbelievable. Oh.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's about time. Let's see, what do I want?
Yeah, can I add a cookie to that order?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, no problem, only guy in the world. I'm sure you need your cookie. The world, your oyster, and he's serving you a cookie.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you so much.
What can I get for you?
Yeah, I'll decaf macchiato.
Yeah, sure, no problem. $3.85.
And it might take a few minutes here. We've got quite a line, obviously, and thanks for your patience. Great. Yeah, great. Great for me. Win it again. Unbelievable. What? What is that? What in the world? What am I supposed to do? How can I do anything about that? Can I even help with that? Oh, your copy, Circle. I can't take this anymore. I gotta get out of here. Hey, what? Hey, buddy, come here.
So, live long and prosper. Have a good day.